record this. All right. I got a handful of things on the agenda. The first up, like obviously there's the big product reorg that happened last week. There's no immediate changes to our priorities from any of that, right? Like obviously dark mode is still super important. Improving the UX of the overall product is important, which is where pajamas as a whole comes in and can be very impactful. The specifics I'll be working out with Justin over the coming weeks to make sure that everything that we've been planning still makes sense under his org. So more to come there, but for right now, certainly the next milestone or two, nothing at all changing. Just keep going as it was. Um, and to that point, I'm curious what we need to prioritize for 1711, right? Like we had the audits for code review and project management in 1710, so we can go to fix those. But what else? What else do we need to put on the list?
Do we have another batch of groups to work with? Or are we done with that now?
Actually, don't. I tried three different security groups to get somebody to partner with us, and they weren't interested, didn't have capacity, ended up not having UI coverage or any like UI features to audit. Um, so I'm content to say like we did our best and we got, the 9 out of 10 that we were aiming for. And we could just call it from here.
It's interesting that they don't have capacity to be helped with something that they're going to have to do anyway. Uh,
Yeah. I mean, the one that was the most interested in, I don't remember the name of the group now. Their group names have changed a bunch. But they're basically actively redesigning the main page that they own. It's like you could audit it, but like it's all going to be different in 3 weeks. So, I just pitched like, hey, come join our AMAs so that you can ask questions. I'm not sure if they did or not, but that seemed like the best outlet for it.
yeah, that makes sense. Just checking the planning issue because I know I wrote down some issues, but I can't remember if which team it was for.
Yeah, I saw one for personal productivity. I don't remember
That
seeing anything for design system, but I haven't looked in it much yet.
that'll be the one then. Dumping ground of things to work on. Personal productivity. Yep, never mind.
Okay.
Um, it's just a draft list that I'll clean up
Okay.
later in the week. Um,
Perfect.
I think the only other thing, sorry, I'm talking over people who've actually written in the agenda here. I'll let them talk. I'll have my points at the bottom.
I'll make mine read only, since Chris is responding and don't have to worry about confidentiality. So I could go to Dan.
Nice to have a single point of ownership for that.
I got some suggestions, proposals to look at in the next milestone. People are still finding it hard to make connections between design tokens, the documentation, Tailwind. I think there's opportunities for us to make that easier for people.
I'm glad you said that, Dan, because that is exactly my point. This is something Florey's looking at the minute to try and generate something from um, I forgot the name of it, is it Style Dictionary, the program that generates all our design tokens, something that ties in with that and Tailwind and gives us a list of all the classes. She's got to a point where it's giving us the background colors, I believe. She wants to use that as like a proof of concept to see how well that works and then try and do that for everything. Uh, I'd said top priority is whatever groups come in. But if no groups are coming in, which it sounds like, I'd like Floria to pick that up and keep working on it for the rest of the milestone.
Cool. Is there an issue for that? If not, could you open just a simple one and toss it in the
Uh,
planning issue?
Somewhere I'll find it, I'll add it in.
Thank you, sir.
And
Uh,
then, sorry, Dan, go on.
oh, you go, Sam.
No, I just realized
Yes.
there's your second point here. You go. I'm jumping ahead of everyone. I'm trying not to be rude.
There's a few design token gaps identified that we could spend some time on. For example, like there's a need for a feedbacky type thing, but what's there isn't quite enough. Some highlighting type things. We could do that. And there's a third one, but I can't remember what it is.
It's the one that you pinged about pipeline execution this morning.
Yep, that uh, pipeline execution comes in on that feedbacky, highlighting things
Okay.
kind of one.
Yeah, then the
And
only
if I
other
remember
one
the
was the
third
search
one, I'll
token
add it.
thing, which I guess is still kind of highlighting.
Yeah, there's um, yeah, the work to implement some of that. Yeah, and there's other gaps. There's they're strewn across various issues, but we
Hmm.
could look to address some of those. Oh, governance. That's the last one. Um, Governance and define. So we looked at governance early on. Um, and it was yes, pussy oh.
Yep,
There was
trying to
some
climb my leg.
there was some the discussions kind of stopped because we hadn't yet got to the point of defining what a design token was. But I think it might be worth coming back to that, especially if we're probably going to come to the point where teams are going to want to add design tokens, where we can have it all be on the same page of this is when we add a design token, this is when we don't, stuff like that. So that's the third one we could do in the coming milestone. Revisit governance and stuff.
You just edit it to make it vaguer.
You know it. No one's going to watch the recording. Everyone's going to read the agenda.
Uh,
No promises.
cool. Uh, yeah, so the bits I've got design token docs that Florey's working on. We spoke about that a second ago. I think James might need another week to finish global search, so there's something in there. Um, Mark to keep looking at that design system holistically. He can he knows more about where he is on this than I do at the minute, to be fair. He's uh, sorting an update for us as we speak. And that leaves Scott and the other half of James, as in when he's finished global search, not the other half of him. Um, Horizontal slices again, question mark. Is this something we want to revisit? Is this somewhere that would be time better spent, or do we just go look for holes and plug them uh across the app now, kind of thing? Like chuck hot pink mode on, look for something that's hot pink, go fix it, spend a month doing that. Uh, I'm looking for
On that
thoughts
note,
on that.
sorry, what was that last bit, Sam?
I say I'm actively looking for thoughts and comments on that one.
Right. So, what I can say about that is that with Scott's help, I put together some changes to the GitLab code scanner, which does, looking at colors. And I'll actually let me restrict this to actual color things. If I can type. Sorry, I had a long morning slash afternoon so far. So this is what I want to copy over. Um, it's more green than orange now, which is good. But there's still plenty of orange. So there probably are places where there are probably still things where we can do horizontal migrations.
Share this for the sake of the recording.
So
Thank you.
orange
Yeah.
is bad, green is good, red
So
is
so red is we definitely want to get rid of it because it's say like a statically defined color that won't ever change. Orange is usually stuff like we are using a non-semantic variable, and we could probably improve that. Um, green is we're using a semantic variable. And by variable, I mean any kind of variable. It's not, it's, I can't remember what is actually implemented there, but this gives a slightly better view as to where we are. I mean, the orange stuff we almost don't need to worry about right now, I think. No, that's not really true. I regret actually opening my mouth. I don't know what I'm talking about, clearly.
orange is bad,
Uh,
red is badder. Uh, they're both bad. Uh, and
yeah.
if you have color blindness, everything's fine. There's a way
Maybe
of
what I
filtering
mean,
by the different severities though, right? So you can filter by here is what we need to fix and do it that way, right?
yeah, and there's still, there's rules that aren't encoded here,
Mm.
which we could add. What I'm trying to say is, I guess, it's always worth looking occasionally to see if we can do a horizontal slice.
Okay.
Because you get a lot done with a horizontal slice, but they're quite expensive to do. And this is one way to look at help decide whether to do that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes. The
What is a horizontal slice? What does that mean?
sorry, Jeremy.
So rather than looking at a single page and trying to fix all of the color usage there, look at all uses of, say, gray colors across the entire code base and changing them all in one go. So a vertical slice is a page or a feature, horizontal slices across the whole code base.
So it's what
Thanks.
we were doing before we looked at the groups, where we managed to change a lot, but the reviews were a bit of a nightmare because trying to find 500 snippets of text in the application is tricky. Um, so yeah, we moved away from them for a bit, but now that there's less, it might be good to go back to them, right? Um, I've lost the agenda. Is that the code scanner being picked up in hot pink mode, man? Yeah,
Yes, it is.
like that. Okay. Um, if everyone else is open to it, I'm happy to put Scott and the rest of James on. Just go fix things. Like find them, fix them, migrate them. Dan seems unsure. Or is he dancing? I'm not sure. I'm unsure, Dan.
Trade-offs, isn't it? Do we fix things and leave behind stuff that helps others fix things? Or do we focus on stuff that helps others fix things? Um, we will need to do both, I'm sure, but there's just
And
trade-offs to both, I think.
in terms of priority, remember that this is the last milestone for Q1. And our goal is to transition to beta at the end of Q1. So I bias towards fixing the most stuff possible. And then as soon as we get into Q2, we can improve the docs. We can help people do all of the work themselves.
Yeah. Trying to balance that by putting Flory on docs, putting Mark on docs, putting James and Scott on fixing things, right? Um, that's my thinking anyway.
Yeah, that's reasonable to me. And actually, a question on beta. Is there anything special we need to do there? Or is it literally just a docs update to say like, hey, cool, this thing was previously experimental and now it's beta and it gets this support? Maybe UI changes as well, because I think it says experimental in the UI.
Yes, I think it's literally just string changes though. I don't think
Yeah,
there's
okay.
anything I don't think there's anything super special.
Cool. Great.
I also don't know if beta releases get release posts. I'm unsure on that one.
I'll look into that.
Yeah.
As
Great.
part of turning on beta, will we turn off the inversion that currently happens?
No.
No, probably not. I talked to Scott about this, and he said basically when we've done all of the migrations, that inversion will disappear anyway. If we remove it now, we just introduce the chance of bugs. So it's not super helpful.
Cool. I think that is more than enough for 1711. So we'll put all this in the planning issue and sort out what's priority and what can carry on to next time. Um, so on the active projects, dark mode rollouts, how's all of that going? We talked about this a little bit, that some of it's carrying over and some things are finished. Um, Jeremy, you've got a comment here.
Yeah, it just goes back to your earlier point or comments that groups aren't responding. I'm just curious how this impacts our timeline that we've communicated for beta.
It doesn't, because the quality of everything, as far as I see, is good enough to go to beta today. Um, and we have already communicated clearly that people are going to be responsible for this themselves going forward. So, I'll restate that again because I didn't see a lot of attendance to the first dark mode AMAs that we had. So I think the next ones come up next week. So I'll ping the what's happening at GitLab again, be like, hey, we're transitioning to beta in such and such timeline. You are responsible now. Please join the AMA to learn what you need to do.
Do we switch to beta before they are acting responsibly?
Yeah.
Or okay.
This was basically a service to everybody to try to address defects before they land up in their product roadmap. Right. Like we have a standard support policy and the way that we're expected to manage defects that are coming in for our various groups. So we were trying to help with that. If they didn't have capacity to work with us, then they're accepting the cost of fixing those defects when they come in.
How does that look to like to end users, to customers, if we say, oh, we're at beta, and then we know that so many groups haven't, lifted a finger towards the effort yet?
Mhm. Yeah, but again, as you look across the product, most of everything looks really good. Like I have not seen a single glaring broken defect in the 3, 4 months since we've been working on this transition. And you can see it again, and I don't remember who mentioned it, but the Is This Known channel, most of the screenshots coming in are in dark mode lately. So like people have organically adopted it internally, and if something was broken, we would hear it.
This is
Yeah,
something I was thinking of as well, right? Do we start actively encouraging people to use dark mode to find them um, weird edge cases, right?
Yeah,
Like
we could do that as well. I can include that in the post out next week. Say, hey, we're transitioning to beta. Basically, we're going to do 90 days to catch and find any major issues before we go to GA. So help us catch and find them, right? Like, this is too big for a single team to cover end to end the product to find everything. We need your help.
would like for GA, would we have the qualification to remove inversion and also to make it other theme ready?
to make what? Sorry, Jeremy, what was that last bit?
Yeah, it's to make it like, okay, so we can switch between light and dark mode, but okay, we introduce a dimmed mode. Uh, if it's GA today, we know that a dimmed mode would not work today based on how it's constructed. So to get to GA, would it be that any mode is enabled, or is that another experiment beta alpha process to add another mode in the future?
I personally expect the latter. Like we're GAing dark mode, right? Like the
Okay.
technology under the hood has been beneficial, but we're not GAing dark mode and generic theming, right? Like dark mode is really the big thing that customers are after, and so that's what we've been focused on pushing forward.
Okay, that's fair. I just asking because, like at its heart, like the construct is like if we are enabling one mode, we should be able to just have it set up where any mode is enabled, and so
Yeah,
that's where I'm going with that. So,
yeah.
but
I think that makes sense. And once we figure out what modes we should prioritize next, we can do any additional follow-on work to make sure that we've actually hit that goal.
I think that for me, that'll be the point when design tokens for colors are GA, right? Not necessarily
Mhm.
dark mode, but like when we're fully done with design tokens, we can switch to whatever mode we want, right? Color mode. I need to keep putting that color specifier in there, right? Because we've done nothing with spacing or anything.
Mhm.
But yeah, I've heard a few people saying that dark mode is too dark for them and they want a dimmed mode, um, which is interesting. That should be really easy when we're done with design tokens. Other than the obviously engineering wise, it should be really easy. I'll word it that way, right?
All right, so we've got some groups that maybe hadn't been engaging as much. How about the ones that we've been working with? Like, I think we opened up issues for code review, right? What about project management? How's that looking?
I think that it is. Let me just flip over to it. No, there's no issues open for that. So, and
Okay.
then
Yeah, I definitely haven't opened them.
yeah, so
Is the audit done?
uh, yeah, the audit's been done.
Okay.
Yeah, like the audit's done. It's not usable. So my task today is like all the stuff's been identified. My task today is to like refine it and turn it into something that more than just me can understand.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let me know when that's ready and I'll make sure the issues get open for it so that we can tackle those next time.
Nice. It's been
Scott
quite
said as well as he's been going through, he's found it easier just to fix the thing than create an issue to fix the thing. So
Yeah,
some of the engineering ones that have come up are just getting fixed as they go, right?
it's fair.
Yeah, I was going to say that for this one, I don't know, perhaps a quarter of them won't be an issue. It'll just be a link to an MR where it was fixed.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Or the intent was like I opened one earlier today where it was easier to communicate the intent in an MR, even if I couldn't actually get it working. So I've handed that off to Flory and Scott to say, hey, this is the thing. Can you make it work so that we can give it to that team to review and approve?
Thank you, Jeremy. I
Yeah.
forgot about environments.
Yeah, that the
Though,
design side is complete, but there's no sub issues um for like design and engineering. There's no child issues that break either of those out.
yeah, I'll look at that again. I'm not sure how the environment's work is impacted by the product changes that have been happening.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good call out. So,
These environments one that engineering weren't looking at currently.
I don't think they've looked at it yet, no. Were they
Okay.
working with you, Jeremy?
uh, I mean, Anna was like super responsive and
That's true.
and actually caught some issues herself. So, uh, yeah,
I meant our engineers, Scott and James haven't been looking at this one, right? I've got there's so many groups going on.
oh
I've
yeah,
lost track of
I
who's who. That's where I'm.
I don't see any engineers assigned to this one. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you need any?
I I leave that up to to Jeff if
Yeah, let's figure
you know.
out what's happening with environments. I'm not sure if that's something that we're
Okay.
still investing in.
Oh, okay. Right. I understand
So
what you're saying
I
now.
I just want to make sure that we're not wasting our effort going after that. So I'll figure that out later
Okay.
this afternoon and let everybody know.
Yeah, to be fair too, they had pretty easy ones, but
Mhm.
so I've even thought about just going in and opening the MRs myself for these, but if you just let me know.
Yeah, good to know that there's not a ton there. I mean, it may be worth fixing it regardless. Um, but I'll let everybody know soon. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think we might have missed Mark and his chance to talk to this, and actually Chris as well. So I guess these are both now async. Uh, Mark has opened an issue with his thoughts about unifying the design system repos. So take a look there. He's done a fair bit of legwork in getting everything put together. So share your thoughts on his research and the directions that he thinks are viable. And then similarly, Chris has summarized the results of the workshop that we did a couple weeks ago about what should be in versus out. So he's got a bunch of still outstanding questions from areas that we didn't have clear agreement in that workshop that we need to hash out until so that we can kind of finalize the way forward there. So go have fun reading through all of the stuff and sharing philosophical thoughts on whether or not an animated icon is part of the design system.
It is interesting having that like huge gear switch in slowing down and thinking about where we're going. And it's yeah, it's a little jarring for myself. So if you're also feeling that, like you're not alone.
Awesome. Well, I think that's it for today. Thank you all so much for your time, and I hope you have a great afternoon. See you later.